Bitcoin is up against some serious challenges with all of this recent price action, and I want to break it down for you because really what we're doing now is finding ourselves right at the bottom of this kind of sideways trading range that we can basically draw as stretching between this 40.7 level and, you know, roughly about 44, something like that. And we are now right at the very, very bottom of it. And, you know, it's about the body language and the posture of the market, right? When you drop down to levels like this, you know, you want to see really nice, quick recoveries, you know, like these wicks right here. But when you start kind of hanging out in the alleyways over here, you know, you're really starting to get a little bit comfy at these kind of price levels, then, you know, why can I not draw? Then that is exactly how you tend to, you know, produce drops in the market. You know, I mean, a beautiful example of that is going to be like over here. We initially get a really nice big quick recovery, but then on a more macro time scale, you can actually see that we were, you know, basically just trading sideways, getting real comfy at the support level. And so of course we had to collapse, you know, and there's a very, very famous example of this that we've spoken about on the YouTube channel many times before that you guys have seen me trade. It's a couple of years ago, but it's definitely the most obvious example of it, which was back here in the $6,000 range where Bitcoin kind of got comfy at the 6K level and then obviously had to get a massive drop. And you guys saw that I did actually trade this move for a 60% profit all those years back. That was now 6 years ago. By the way, this next couple of months marks seven years of me being in the crypto space, which is absolutely ridiculous. But the concept here of, you know, getting, you know, comfy at these support levels or resistance levels is really, really important. We produced the same thing in the opposite direction. Here is Bitcoin at the $20,000 level, and you can see we're not really getting rejected here, which is a sign that the bears can't really hold the price back, and so we managed to kind of get that nice little breakout. But if we relate it back to what's going on right now, to me, that's going to be one of your typical signs that this is going to have to drop much lower and start capturing support toward $30,000, which we're going to get to in just a moment. But I want to cover some really important charts with you before we actually get there. And this one is actually really interesting. This is a demonstration of Bitcoin support going all the way back to, like, what was this, August of last year, with a line that has acted as resistance but not yet as support. This upward trending resistance line has been you know, where the market has kind of bumped its head a little bit over this last year or so, and not quite, more like 8-9 months or whatever, not even. And it also lines up with this support area. Now, this is what makes it really interesting, is when you start to get multiple different lines that kind of come from different places, but they arrive at the same point. To me, that's what I would call confluence, right? And that's where you're starting to get multiple different things pointing in the same direction. And it also lines up beautifully with this one-day Ichimoku cloud. This is a key indicator of support that I've been outlining for this market, and it's really the only thing that I think Bitcoin has going for it right now as far as support is concerned, obviously, other than just the overarching idea that we could be in a pattern that looks a little bit like this and just kind of, you know, sideways with some deviations, perhaps, you know, stuff like that, but the majority still staying sideways. That would definitely make sense, and I wouldn't want to be closed off to that. But I think that there is some humbling that needs to happen in this market right now, and I'm being very cautious, right? Because my bearish stance has become a little bit more fashionable in the market. Obviously, I've been bearish on Bitcoin, definitely as Bitcoin was rising up with that ETF news, and I was telling you guys that, I mean, you know, to me this all looked very, very obvious that it was going to happen, but you know, it seems like a lot of other people are starting to take that stance now. But I've got two very, very interesting numbers to show you with the 4Flies dashboard here. The first one is the Fear and Greed Index, which now sits at a reading of 55, which is a massive drop from what we were seeing before. If we go ahead and refresh this page here to take a look at the history of the Fear and Greed Index, I mean, just over the last month here, we've gone from readings of 76 down to very nice neutral territory here, you know, which to me is a very clear sign that people are starting to lose that bullish bias a little bit. But we're not quite seeing that for Binance retail traders. Binance retail traders massively overly confident here, potentially, with 2.4 longs for every short right here, 70% long versus 29% short, which is absolutely huge. I mean, that is a very strong bias toward the upside here, and especially when retail, you know, typically piles in on one particular direction. To me, that is when massive alarm bells go off, especially when I think the market is already weak to begin with. Here's an interesting chart. This is actually the falling wedge that I outlined with you guys that I said is potentially a very nice bullish situation for Bitcoin. And what we can see quite clearly is that we did get that breakout, but it didn't really materialize into anything. You could definitely say that we're about to produce some sort of a reaction rally over here and then kind of rocket up, and that is kind of one of the best and only things you can hope for at this stage, because we must not lose this price level. I'm going to show you that in just a second as well. just how important this particular price level is, and the thing is that because we haven't actually been able to produce a nice kind of bounce or a nice breakout off this level, that's one of the it basically shows us that we had an opportunity to do something bullish and we haven't really used it. And when that happens, for me, it's just windows of opportunity, right? Like sometimes there's a window of opportunity for bulls, sometimes there's a window of opportunity for bears, right? And when you get that bullish opportunity, if the bulls don't take it, if the bulls don't seize that opportunity, then the ball is in the court of the bears. That's kind of the way I see things. So, if we take a look at this chart right here, really, really critical area of support right here. We've been able to stay above it for 40, 50 days. But one of the things that's starting to happen now more and more is that we are starting to see more and more resistance pile on in this market now. I mean, this EMA resistance has been phenomenal for the market recently, showing us that we have been getting some really predictable areas of support over here. And also, with our Ichimoku cloud, it's getting a little bit claustrophobic over here. There's a lot of resistance up ahead for Bitcoin, and it has to get above some of these key price levels very soon. Otherwise, I think we definitely could be in for some trouble. Here's a nice perspective on how Bitcoin could end up recovering this. Let me just bring my face cam back on here. Do I have space? No, I don't have space for me yet. Some really, really important price levels, this kind of 42K range being an essential one to recover. This basically puts us back in the midpoint of this range. And then obviously recovering above 44 would be the real thing that would make me bullish. I mean, getting back up here would probably just turn me back to neutral for the short term, but I don't want to see that. I want to see Bitcoin dropping lower, and the reason for that is because of that pre-halving crash that we were talking about a lot on this YouTube channel, right? I mean, this is a key theme that, to be honest, a lot of other people have picked up on now, which again is one of the things that's making me a little bit less convinced in my direction. But again, it's these long skies, that are telling me that, this is just a little bit too extreme for me. I mean, it's one of those things that when things get when things move that heavily in the direction for retail, I mean, it's just and it's very short term, right? I mean, you could look at top traders and be like, well, top traders were long too. In fact, I'm long as well myself, right? So you could point that out and be like, look, I mean, this doesn't really mean anything, but the thing to keep in mind is these top trader numbers are, quite long term. These people have been in positions for a really long time, but it's the retail that constantly flip flop. So this means these are recent longs. These are not longs that have been open for a very, very long time. And I think that's an extremely important distinction to make in this market. Because obviously, where the newer money is going, especially for retail, that's where things are going to be a little bit more emotional and different things like that. So it's really important to keep that in mind if you want to be pulling profits in the markets. And obviously, one of the big things I want to highlight for you guys that makes it easier to make profits in the markets is having more capital to trade with. And I've got a brand new partner that I want to speak to you guys about on this YouTube video. They're actually a pretty big exchange, and they're giving you massive bonuses as well. I mean, it's gotten quite ridiculous now. I don't even know. Well, yeah, I can understand why. We're now offering over $290,000 in bonuses with the links in the description down below. The reason these exchanges pay so much to get you guys to use their platform, the reason they'll give you so much free money, and the reason it's not even hard to get. Look at this: deposit $100, trade 10K. That's literally one trade potentially, and you get another $100 in your account, and you can trade with it. You can deploy that capital any way you like, and any profits you generate are yours to keep. The reason exchanges do this is because they want your business. And I don't care if you're going to use these exchanges in the long term or not, but I do care if this is the kind of thing that can give you really nice head starts in the game, so that you can, just give yourself a little bit of extra capital to deploy, and it's risk-free. You can do anything you like with it. So check them out. These guys are giving some really, really cool bonuses. Again, over 100K, of course, along with the other links in the description. Deepcoin is another no KYC exchange, so absolutely great. Same for BingX as well, which allows you to trade traditional finance markets. But of course, Bybit is going to remain one of the best players in the game here, with up to 30K in exchange bonuses, meaning, again, that's just free money that you can deploy right back into the market once you start trading using these platforms. So that is super, super cool. We'll be talking a little bit more about Deepcoin in a while. I'm very, very excited for this one. But yeah, let's come back to the charts here for just a minute and continue talking about this. And there is so much more to go through. I'm just kind of picking what to actually talk about. I think the next key thing I want to highlight with you guys in this YouTube video is you know, the potential short-term moves, because you guys know I like to start with that stuff. If we do end up dropping below this price area at 40.7, I'd be very interested in seeing something a little bit like this. You know, to me, some sort of back test would be huge, because we have used this area really predictably now, going back all the way to the 11th of December up to today. For 42 days, we've used it very predictably, 6 weeks, as support. And so it would be technically beautiful if we ended up seeing this area flip and turn into resistance. So, you know, that would be something I really want to see. There would definitely be some nice opportunities for short positions and so on, which I would be executing across the exchanges linked down here. So definitely go ahead and check them out if you are interested. And of course, I will be, as always, informing VIP members of my trade setups, how they're evolving, and so on. You can get all the information by following these steps on screen right here. You know, and to me, that would be a beautiful way to kind of see this thing play out. And if we did end up falling below this area, and we did end up getting rejected, or maybe we don't even get that far, but we just end up falling down, to me, some of the key areas that I'd be interested in seeing next would be the $38,000 level right here. And if I hide my camera, also the $35,000 level right here. So these are some of the key levels that I'd be looking at. Just basically the top of our previous consolidation and the bottom of our previous consolidation, which also happens to be the top of our consolidation before that. You know, these would be some price areas that I think would be quite interesting for Bitcoin. But if we take, you know, a more kind of zoomed out view, and we really just kind of analyze where volume tends to get exchanged for Bitcoin, we're going to see something very concerning, right? And it's basically the same thing I've said for a while. It's like, look, you can pick out areas of support like these, and it would be correct as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I don't really have a problem with that, but you can't really get past the fact that there isn't much trading going on in this chart, especially just if we, you know, just look at this particular chart without going further back. There isn't much trading going on with our recent price action between our current price level and the 30K level. So to me, that's going to be a very clear sign that, you know, on a more macro scale, don't be surprised if we get that really, really quick drop down. And especially after, you know, I mean, look, we're on the edge in a lot of ways. You know, I think this is something that people haven't quite internalized yet. Is because the ETF hasn't resulted in the massive bullish narrative that everybody wanted. And, you know, one of the concepts I speak about with you guys is, and we've given some hilarious analogies for this in the past, is that when you buy a shitcoin or Bitcoin or whatever, with the anticipation that it's going to go up, if it's not actually going up, you're going to dump it very, very quickly. You know, it's basically going to look a lot less attractive. And that is something which I think is an absolutely essential thing to keep in mind. You know, you might not necessarily feel this way, but a lot of other people will. And obviously, one of the brilliant analogies we've come up with on this YouTube channel, obviously having no filter, is it's like when you're at the club and you're intoxicated, you've been drinking, whatever. The fives are starting to look like eights, and it's just how it is. You know, but as soon as you start to sober up, as soon as you start to realize that this chick is not as hot as you thought, you're gonna be completely uninterested very, very quickly. You're going to dump. And that's exactly what ends up happening with assets like Bitcoin. And I mean, you can see it, right? It's like I said before, the staircase up and the elevator down. So, you know, and I quantified this on Carl Moon's live stream earlier today. You can go ahead and check that out. It took us about 38 days to get up here, but to get down to this price level only took about 7, right? I mean, it really tells you everything you need to know about what we're actually looking at here, you know, which to me indicates that, you know, a bigger drop could definitely be due, and that's why I certainly wouldn't rule out this kind of stark VPVR drop. You know, something else I want to bring to your attention that people aren't really talking about that much, it almost feels a little bit silent, is the S&P 500. You know, this is an index that has set a brand new all-time high, and it is something we were looking at, but you guys are going to know that I was actually expecting a little bit of resistance and for the S&P 500 to come back down to levels like here and then continue up, right? People call me bearish for stuff like this, but really I'm just very realistic. I'm staying grounded and saying, like, look, I still think it's going to go up, but I think it's going to take a slightly more scenic route to get there. You know, and what's really important about the S&P 500 now is that we are, I mean, just by the looks of it already, and it's very early in the day. Well, it's only about halfway through the day. So, you know, we have already gapped higher and now formed a bit of a shooting star candle. Now, again, like I said, there's about 3 hours left in today's trading session, and you're going to know what happens by the time you watch this. But if this turns into something bearish, I mean, if this turns into, you know, a little deviation deviation and then the S&P 500 comes down, then we've got a really concerning image on our hands here, because essentially I think one of the things we've seen is Bitcoin rallying up so high to price in that ETF, right? To anticipate where Bitcoin's going to go with the ETF approval, and then it happens before we even get it, which is super typical. It happens all the time. Pricing in, it's a very, very common kind of narrative that plays out in the markets. And one of the things that helps Bitcoin remain strong is if general investor confidence for assets across the board is optimistic. Generally, if investor confidence is strong, right? Because if investor confidence is weak, then you're not going to really be interested in risky things because you're not feeling confident, right? But if you're feeling confident, you're going to be a little bit more inclined to trade those risky things. And this is one of the reasons that Bitcoin does perform incredibly well during upswings for the S&P 500. But as soon as that starts to turn around, and if it is going to turn around here, and I'm not saying it will, but if it does, that puts Bitcoin in a really scary place, because the S&P 500 has now broken out. But if this does turn out to be one of those shooting star candles, like I said, I mean, this was a very, very important day, especially by the end of today's trading session. I think it's going to dictate a lot of what might happen in crypto, especially like for the rest of this week, but definitely even, toward the end of this month and even next month. I mean, if this turns into some sort of a reversal for the dollar, I think that's going to be yet another nail in the not so fully completed coffin of Bitcoin. Not to say Bitcoin's in a coffin yet, but certainly not in a particularly strong place. And here's another view at the dollar of the dollar. I mean, very, very clearly, getting a nice bounce off the bottom of this range, forming a bit of a bull flag, another move up, and then a little bit of a kind of falling wedge, however you want to call it. I mean, very, very clearly, getting ready to potentially move up again. So, and it's very interesting how the S&P 500 has rallied up regardless of what this dollar index has been doing, but that doesn't typically happen all the time. To me, this is more the exception than the rule, and I wouldn't necessarily bet on that continuing. I think that eventually things are going to have to kind of fall back in line with the natural orders of this market, which to me means that if the dollar is rising, the S&P would probably fall. I don't want to make strong judgments on this yet, because it has just set a brand new all-time high, but this is not the all-time high you want to see, especially the following day after you set the all-time high. You don't want to see a retracement like this. You want to see another massive lightsaber candle, right? Like, what you actually want to see is price action that looks a little bit more like this right after you set an all-time high, because that's going to be what really gives you the confidence that this is a legitimate breakout. You start getting kind of weird, indecisive, reversal, doji, shooting star stuff like this. It's just not a good look. I mean, it's one of the things I can definitely tell you, like, look, this is not a mega strong breakout right here. So again, if this did end up dropping, to me, that would probably sour the general climate for investor confidence and probably lead to some nasty developments for the crypto market as well. So that is something I'm definitely keeping an eye out on for this market. If we take a look at Bitcoin's dominance as well, we are starting to take another swing upwards here. So if this does end up rallying nice and high towards the top of this range here, that would also line up really nicely with some better opportunities presenting themselves across the altcoin market. Look at Solana, by the way, dropping very, very low down to our critical area of support at about $85 here. So another beautiful development here. Again, just more opportunities showing up in the market. These kind of things that I'm talking about, they shouldn't be scaring you. I don't even know how you've made it this far on any of my YouTube videos. If what I'm talking about scares you, obviously we're staying very grounded, and really the number one thing I'm interested in are the opportunities to make money, right? I mean, I'm not particularly emotionally attached if any of these assets go up or down. I want to see Bitcoin go up. Doesn't really matter if it does or not, but what I am very, very interested in is finding those opportunities for easy money to kind of be scraped across, and pull my nice 10, 20, 30, 1000% profits if they come, and kind of playing the game like that. So to me, that's what I'm most interested in, and we are definitely starting to develop those opportunities now across the altcoin. I mean, big red days like this are a sign that, probably green days are to come, but also that really nice entries are going to start potentially opening up across these markets as well. So to me, that's going to be really exciting. Solana is a particularly interesting asset right now for those of you that are interested in Bybit, because you're actually, it's not here. There's actually a link that I'm going to add to the description where you're going to get a free $500 position on Solana when you sign up using my link down below. It's actually this link right here. And by the way, if you already have an account, this should still apply. And if you want to gain access to my free trading package, which is, you know, some of the key psychological lessons and strategies I've employed and developed in this market over the years, that's worth way more than $100. You can get it by following these steps right here. And you can also just make a brand new Bybit account if you already have one, using the same KYC, using my link, and you will be registered as one of you don't lose anything. It just helps the channel, you know, but we will give you a bunch of free stuff in exchange for showing the channel some support, and obviously beautiful opportunities to get even more free trading capital when you follow the links in the description down below. Absolutely spectacular here with Deepcoin. By the way, this is a pretty big exchange. I hadn't actually heard of them until a few months ago when somebody I work with pointed it out to me, but they've actually got quite a bit of volume. I want to show this to you. Let me just find which tab to use. Let's go ahead and use the Binance tab. Very fitting because I don't like Binance. And if we go ahead and take a look at, well, here I am saying I don't like Binance and then going on fucking CMC, but this is just what we're working with. If we take a look at Deepcoin right here, they have what is this, 234 million in spot trading volume. That's not what I'm interested in. Let's go ahead and look at derivative volume. Where is Deepcoin? Right here, rank 21. So, I mean, not too low, but definitely, I'm sorry, not too high, but definitely not too low. This does not look correct because I think it's only listing spot trading volume. Oh yeah, right here, derivatives. That's what I was looking at. Yeah, rank number 10 for derivatives. This is what I'm interested in. No one really cares about spot trading. You know, definitely some really healthy trading volume. So these guys are not small, you know, and they are now making a break into the more kind of Western markets, I guess you could say. You know, basically English markets, and so, you know, that is why they're going so aggressive. So definitely do take advantage of this stuff while you can. I do want to thank you all for watching this one. I've got to get going now, but I hope you have enjoyed this, you know, relatively quick, still 20-minute video on this Bitcoin analysis here. I'm very excited for what happens here. I think we're so close to some really nice big trading opportunities. I mean, you know, this kind of thing is boring. When we start getting this kind of price action, you know, this kind of price action, this is what we sign up for. This kind of price action, this is what we want. We don't want to see sideways markets, and I think we're about to enter some really nice, very profitable trading ranges now. So that is what has got me very excited, and of course it's what makes these things all the more time sensitive, so well worth checking them out. All right guys, thank you all so much for watching. You know exactly what to do. Show this video some love, like, subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.